Not too long ago, my friend Jen and I met a world traveler who, for the purposes of telling this story and maintaining some anonymity, we'll call Flavia. Jen and I love meeting interesting people, so we invited Flavia to join us for dinner. And over dessert, she told us the story of how when she was young, she just adored the small, picturesque village where she'd grown up in Latin America. She couldn't imagine anything better, and she never wanted to leave. But after high school, she wasn't really sure what she wanted to do with her life. And so her parents decided that she should be sent to Vancouver to learn English. Flavia didn't want to go, but she was sent there anyway. She arrived late at night. She was taken to the home of a stranger whose language she didn't speak, and she spent the entire night crying and terrified and feeling so alone. And the next morning, that stranger, who turned out to be very kind, took her on a tour of the city. And Flavia's perspective shifted almost instantly. She was struck by the tall buildings and the order of the city and the fresh, clean, cold Canadian air. It moved something inside of her and stirred a curiosity she didn't know she had. And before too long, she started meeting people from all over the world and discovered this burning desire to visit all their countries. She thought, if this place, Vancouver, could be so vastly different from where she grew up, then there had to be a whole world full of mysterious places that were just as wonderful, just as different. And she wanted to experience them all. I talk a lot about the fact that the design process is nonlinear. And in the design of our lives, this can be particularly true when it comes to receiving inspiration. A lot of times, we don't even think it's time for a design revision. We don't think there's a problem to solve. We haven't done anything remotely resembling a deep dive on ourselves, and then smack, out of nowhere, just like Flavia, we get hit with this bit of magic and we realize that our lives are about to change. Here's what was happening behind the scenes that Flavia didn't even realize. Being sent to Vancouver was essentially what's called a forcing function. A forcing function is any event that requires us to take action that we weren't prepared to take, and often that we don't want to take. It's not convenient. But here's the cool thing about forcing functions. The way they work requires that our brain no longer rely on business as usual. And when that happens, we're opened up to new perspectives, new possibilities, including the possibility of getting sideswiped by really amazing inspiration. The inspiration that hit Flavia completely changed her original plan to go back home. And as a result, she had to recalibrate. She had to discover who she was in this moment in her life. And she was forced to ask questions about things that she'd always believed were fundamental to who she was as a person. And that certainly shook her to her core. But what she learned is that this kind of unexpected inspiration is a huge gift and so much fun if we don't fear it. When we met Flavia, she had been remote working and traveling for almost a decade. She had just visited her 100th country. I asked her how much longer she thought she would continue on this way. And she just looked at me and got this huge, contagious grin on her face. And she said, "No end in sight."